honour has apparently been forgotten. A sacred war grave has been plundered by a man hunting memorabilia. And while the families of the dead young men want him stopped, he's actually proud of what he's doing.
191 in formation, over. Roger, 191.
This is from 191, the aircraft that blew up, killed everybody. This is part of the landing light housing on one of the wings, and that actually comes from the grave site.
Rod Burgess calls himself a military museum curator. His critics call him a desecrator of war graves.
And a human reminder, part of a flying boot. This is the remains of one of the aircrew's flying boot.
To me, it is moral and ethical theft. It really is.
This is where 4 young Australians crashed and died during World War II, the site that Burgess has been taking parts from.
Well, he'd be a grave robber, wouldn't he?
191, remaining on this heading. Copy, 191.
The 4 airmen, all in their 20s, were fresh out of training school. They were thrown into dangerous, close-flying formations here near Townsville to hunt down Japanese submarines.
How you doing back there, Gunner? All good back here, boss. Nice and quiet.
Morris Cooper, at only 21, was the pilot. Herbert Gillum was navigator. Leslie Jewell, the gunner. And Jim Herman operated the wireless.
This is Jim here. I still think of it as being a sacred site. They gave their lives, and at that young age.
Jessie Morgan is the younger sister of Jim, who at 28 was the old man of the crew.
And I was very proud of him and my brother. He was always, pin-up.
And this is you in the cockpit?
Yes, that's right, wearing the RAF issue for headgear.
On May 24th, 1942, Lex Halliday was piloting another plane in the formation when suddenly the 2 Hudsons collided.
It happened so fast. One minute you're flying, and next minute everything goes crazy.
Too close, mate! Too close! Fire!
We came together in some way or other, and our props kind of mixed. But they just went in and blew up right away. Didn't have a chance. Got a plane loaded with fuel and some anti-submarine bombs, and they hit the ground, spinning in. They're bound to explode.
4 young lives lost. Their remains left here in the mangroves to this day. 8 airmen could have died had Lex Halliday not managed to belly flop his plane and escape.
Well, that's the actual crash photo. That's the actual crash before it blew up. We just got away from that.
After 67 years, this is the first time relatives of the crew have visited the crash site.
We pray, O God, that you'll give comfort to those family and friends who still miss them, and grieve for them even though many years have passed since the terrible tragedy that took their lives.
Jill Shepherd is the niece of radio operator Herman. Greg Daly, nephew of the pilot Cooper.
It's very important for my mother, as well as the other parts of the family that are still alive.
It's very moving, just the incredible loneliness and remoteness, and just I can only imagine what went through their minds as the plane went down, and I just hope it was quick and they didn't suffer.
Although the Air Force has allowed this padre to conduct the family ceremony, the Defence Department has done nothing to protect the remains of the 4 dead airmen. No proper burial, no memorial plaque, and nothing to stop the site from being desecrated.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
The mangrove's that thick as you can see, you can hardly walk through it. Imagine what the search party had to put up with trying to find them.
Townsville local Kevin Whelan first came to the site nearly 50 years ago. Today, he's taking in his mate, reservist Lieutenant Colonel Andy Hodgkinson.
Not a nice place to be, mate.
Because of the remoteness of the site, the wartime search party left the remains with the wreckage. But over the years, Whelan has seen much of the plane and its contents go missing.
It's really, really sad, you know, terribly sad. To think that they're just buried here and nobody worries about it, you know?
No.
People stealing parts and what have you. It's actually a grave site, you know?
Whelan and Hodgkinson were shocked to discover one of their fellow volunteers at the Army Museum of North Queensland was taking parts from the site.
What remains of that aircraft, that is that man's coffin, that is their tomb. So when you take a piece, you're taking part of their coffin. That's a terrible thing to do.
And then when you take one of their boots,
that's almost like taking a part of the person.
Well, on our last trip, 2008, we recovered the section of the Fowler flap, which was sitting on top of the that painted wing section. You can still, it's lasted pretty well.
Rod Burgess is a volunteer curator with the museum, and he's very proud of how much he's removed from the crash site. Didn't you take a boot?
We have over there a flying solar for flying boot that was actually found in mangroves away from the grave site.
The problem is, this site, like so many around Australia, is completely unprotected by the law. There's nothing to stop people like Burgess helping themselves to whatever they want from the resting places of our fallen men and women. What relatives did you speak to ask permission to take these items from a war grave?
One, it's not a war grave yet. That's one of the things we're trying to get.
It is a war grave because there are men buried there.
It is not a recognised war grave.
Mr Burgess, it's a war grave because there are 4 young men who died there.
Yes, there is. And
so what gives you the right to take artefacts and pieces of that wreckage away, desecrating the site?
It's not desecrating that site. The site is being destroyed by weather, and it's also being destroyed by other people that are going in there that don't know that site exists.
I wish that it could just remain as a sacred site. I'd hate to think that it will be pillaged.
Jessie Morgan is the sister of Jim Herman, who was one of the 4 flyers.
Sorry.
Getting a bit too hot for you? Too many home truths?
No, actually, this has just been a great big setup.
This is not a setup at all, Mr Burgess.
Well,
Jessie Morgan, the sister of one of the flyers, says this is a sacred site and accuses you of pillaging it.
Well, when we originally brought this stuff here, it was to actually display it so we could actually honour these men.
Your impression of someone who does that?
Well, they're pretty low, aren't they? The lowest shark shit at the bottom of the ocean, really.
Both Whelan and Hodgkinson have blown the whistle on Rod Burgess. Hodgkinson says he quit the museum in protest, while Whelan has put his job on the line by speaking out.
Well, someone's got to do it, eh? It's just going to keep happening, you know? I mean, he's taken this amount of gear, well, he's going to go back and get more. There's no 2 ways about it, you know?
We've still got to get a section for the War Memorial too that we haven't got yet.
Rod Burgess has even told museum colleagues that he's collected material from this site for the Australian War Memorial in Canberra.
We brought it back.
They have never heard of you, Mr Burgess, and they also tell us that what you've been up to, taking anything from any wartime gravesite, they don't approve of.
One thing...
Would you like that letter? You take that letter from the Australian War Memorial and read it well, because what you've been doing is wrong.
I think it's disgusting how you're making an issue of these men dying.
You've already admitted and you've already shown us items that you've taken from the gravesite. How could you not have desecrated it?
Any museum has stuff that's brought back from grave sites.
If you read that from the Australian War Memorial and their code of conduct, they will tell you it shouldn't be touched. And the relatives say the same thing, Mr. Burgess.
Okay, all right.
So will you put them back?
No.
Please respect, you know, people who gave their lives for their country. And leave things alone.
If these 4 young men had died at sea, this site would have most likely been gazetted as an official war grave. And protected too. It sort of brings a whole new meaning, doesn't it, to resting in peace?
Brings a whole new meaning to other concepts like loyalty, integrity, comradeship, honour.
Thank you for hijacking this. We're trying to honour these men, trying to get this site recognised.
Well, the men who do care and their relatives think you're the one who's hijacking the site.
Okay.
Mr. Burgess.